For video 2, we're going to continue where we left off. You should still be on the Zoom website. So what we're going to do is you're going to go over to the left-hand side, and we're going to click Meetings. We are going to use Personal Meeting Room. Click on that. And this is actually how you will start your class every day. So what I would suggest is bookmarking this page and then saving it as starting class or how to start my class. So now we're going to click Join Now. Here, no, Hey, so you should still be on this page where we ended off in video 1. So what we're going to do is you are going to come up to Meetings. This is how you will start your class every day. So we're going to click on Personal Meeting Room. I would suggest bookmarking this page so then every day you can just come to the bookmark in order to start your class. You could name it as something like Start My Class or Page to Start Class. So when I come here and I want to start my class, I'm just going to click Start Meeting. What my students are going to need is my meeting ID number. That's what they're going to enter in on their iPads to join the class. Like I said in yesterday's email, make sure that you do not have your kids create Zoom accounts. Students do not need accounts at all. They will only be using your meeting ID number. So what we're going to do is we're going to click Start Meeting. When this pops up, you're going to click Open Zoom Meetings. And then a little window will show up. If you have your camera on, you'll see a picture of yourself. If it's on but something's over your camera, it will be black. So I'm going to enter in full screen. So this is what it looks like from the teacher end. The toolbar is down at the bottom. When you start teaching, it is going to disappear, but all you have to do is bring your mouse down to the bottom again and it will pop up. So starting from the left and going to the right, if you have a line through either one of these, that means that you either have your audio muted and you haven't started your video. So to unmute yourself, you just click it and then you'll be unmuted, and then the same with the video. Moving on down here, we will never use this invite. So I know a few people were using this and then going to copy URL or copy invitation. That's not how you want to set up your class. What this does is if I copy the URL and give it to my students and then close out of Zoom, it actually has that meeting become obsolete. I can't get back into it and neither can the kids. So we are just going to ignore the invite. Manage participants is who's going to show you everybody that is in your class. I use this a lot as you are going through. It shows who's in there, but if you record your session, then you don't have to do attendance during class. You can come back and look at the participants list, and then you'll be able to see who was in your class. On each student, you'll see a microphone and a webcam. You have the ability to turn their microphone on or off, and same with their webcam. Scrolling down to the bottom, I have a mute all, so I can mute all of my students as they come in. If you set your settings before, though, it will mute your students. I can unmute everybody. If I come over here and click More, these are some other settings that I have. So I'm going to put on Mute Participants on Entry. And then it's going to ask if you want them to unmute themselves. The only reason you might not want them to unmute themselves is they have the ability to raise their hand if they have a question, and then the teacher can actually unmute them. Because if 10 people have a question all at once and they unmute themselves and try to talk, it's kind of like chaos. So even in our master's program, we weren't allowed to unmute ourselves. We had to raise our hands, and then the instructor would unmute us for questions. So I'm going to go ahead and click continue. This is personal preference. Coming back down here, you do not want to have a check mark next to allow participants to rename themselves, because then they can take their first and last name and then change it to whatever they want. I'm hard of hearing, so I would want the play, enter, and exit chime to happen as students are coming or leaving my classroom. And then you don't need to lock your meeting. So that is manage participants. We're going to skip share screen just for right now. Going over to chat. As you know, in our settings, we set it that students couldn't chat one-to-one, so they couldn't chat with each other separately where you wouldn't see it. They could only do in a group chat, but they could individually chat with me and send me a message and nobody else would see it. So on the teacher side, my screen is split in two, and the reason is this is messages that came directly to me from a student where nobody else can see it. On the bottom where it says Zoom group chat, that is where it's going out to everybody. So if I wanted to send a chat to everyone, maybe it was a question, I would just come down here and type, or I could, type, "Good morning, I've missed you," and when I send it, that goes out to everybody in the class. We have it available where students can chat back, so they could send messages. I would definitely make that one of your classroom norms that you need to go through with your class, that the chat feature is something that they need to respect, and it's not just to type back and forth like texting. Going to the next one, if you want to record your session, you can click record. Otherwise, there's a setting to automatically have it record once you start Zoom, and we'll go through that. This is a breakout room, so what that does is it allows your students to go into smaller groups and be set almost like in virtual groups. They're away from their classroom peers. You actually, as the teacher, set it up. If you have 22 kids in your class, when you click the breakout, it asks you how many groups that you want, or how many rooms that you want, and then it'll tell you how many participants per room, and then you click create rooms. Before it actually pushes the students out, it gives you a chance to see who's in each room. So just in case two students wouldn't work well together, you can exchange the students between different rooms. I don't have any students in mind, so mine says 0 right now. And then the reactions. This is the hand clap. So if you were doing presentations, they could give a clap. Otherwise, they've got the thumbs up. So now we're going to come back to screen share. This is where I'm going to pull up what I want my students to see. So it can be a web browser, it could be Smart Notebook, it could be Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Google Slides, anything that you have on your computer, you're able to display out to your students. So I'm going to open up just a little Google Slides that I have for training, just so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the PowerPoint here. So now my class is seeing the PowerPoint. As I go through this, I can go into full screen mode, just like I would if I was teaching, and go through everything. I can play videos too. If I was using Smart Notebook, I'd be able to use the touchscreen on my computer and continue with writing my notes, or if I was an English teacher, I could highlight and underline, nouns and verbs. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Stop Share. That stops sharing the PowerPoint to my students, and then they would go back to either this black screen where my camera is covered right now, or they would see me. If I go back up to share screen, there's a whiteboard option. So if I click on whiteboard, this just brings up a board that I can put little questions on if I want to do some bell ringers, or I can, just write a little welcome message to my students. So it's kind of like a paint program. I've got different colors here. I can choose my different widths of lines. Sorry, this is with my mouse. I've got the text tool too, where I would be able to type in a message or put in some questions. When I'm done sharing this, all I have to do is click the Stop Share, and then it goes back to that same screen. This is honestly the gist of using Zoom. It is really pretty easy. Some of the troubleshooting tips, if your kids can't, their microphone's not working or they are unable to hear you, have them make sure that their volume is all the way up. Have them put their finger where the time is and swipe down and make sure that their iPad is not muted. Restart. And then when they log back into the Zoom class, make sure that they do the audio test. That's something, one of the classroom norms that I would say that everybody should do is have your kids do that audio test every day, and teachers should too before they go live. It walks you through the steps if something's not working. So to end the class, all I have to do is come down to End Meeting, and then it will ask me, do you want to end it for everybody or just leave the meeting? If I'm done with class, I can end it. If by chance I use only 30 minutes out of a 60-minute class period, what I can do is tell all the kids they can leave the meeting and I'll stay on in case somebody has questions while they're working. That way then students can come in as they're working and ask questions in the virtual environment here. But when I'm done, all I have to do is click End Meeting for all, and then it removes everybody out of the session. And then the next day when I come back, I'm going to open up zoom.us. Or go to my bookmarks and open up the page that I saved and click that Start Meeting again. As always, if you have any questions, make sure that you reach out. You can also ask your tech leads in the buildings. Take it one day at a time. We'll get through this. Thanks.